Happy Thursday Pray Day. We're going to continue our series talking about who is it that we pray to? Who is the God we pray to? Last week we talked about how he self-exists and how God does not need anything outside of himself and how that influences why we pray. And so we're going to continue that this week. You might notice behind me, we already got the chairs stacked up. We're preparing for our fellowship event this Friday night. So if you want to come and join us, please do. Friday at 6 p.m., we're going to start playing some games and have some fun together. But let's talk about the God we pray to and why that influences how we pray, or why we pray, why we should pray. So one of my favorite paraphrases of a quote by Martin Luther is that man is like a drunkard who falls off a horse. After falling off one side, he only gets on that horse again to fall off the other side. What Martin Luther was saying is actually demonstrating or illustrating the tendency of humans, to be people of extremes. We either go extreme this side or the extreme this way. That we actually have trouble having balance in our lives. We have trouble actually even holding maybe seemingly contradictory or seemingly at odds concepts in our minds together in a balanced way. And I think that comes very true when we start thinking about God. Because God has these elements about him, or how we describe him, that seem maybe at odds with one another. Take, for instance, that he's transcendent and he's immanent. What those mean is that God exists above his creation. He's distinct from his creation. He is utterly different than what he made. He's transcendent from his creation. But also, we know he's immanent. He is here with us. He's everywhere. He's closer than we think. And we see this in the Bible. That's why we hold these truths, and we have to hold these in a balanced way. Why? Because we see this in the Bible. And I think we see them in the same text. And when we open up the book of Acts and we see Paul speaking in Athens, and he's talking about this God that people are kind of groping for all this idol worship. And he's talking about this God. How does he describe this God? Well, in Acts chapter 17, and we're just going to start in verse 24, this is what he says about God. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor is served by human hands, as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, so that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way towards him and find him. Yet he is actually not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. Right there we see these two concepts, transcendent and immanent, in that same text. This is a God who can't be confined to a temple, can't be served by human hands. He's transcendent, but at the same time, he's closer than we think, for in him we live and move and have our being. We hold these two truths together, and that influences how we pray, or why we pray. First, when we think of God being transcendent, that influences how we pray, because we're not praying to someone who's trapped within a closed system in this world we made, who might just be more powerful than us and that might be able to do something. No, we're praying to a God who exists outside of this created world, who can interact and change it. We're praying to a God who is able, who's transcendent above. He sees all, he knows all. He's utterly distinct from this world he made, his creation made. And so when we pray, we trust we're praying to a God who can intercede on our behalf. And we're also praying to a God who is immanent, with us, close to us, waiting for us to turn to him and ask for help. That we don't have to go through some regular steps or ceremony to somehow reach up and communicate to God, to reach to his level, or to shout it loud enough. No, he's here with us. And so when we pray, he hears us. He's listening to us. He's ready to respond to us. He's closer than we think. Isn't that amazing? God who's transcendent is also God who's immanent with us. It's amazing. And when we pray, we hold these two truths together. And it's a beautiful thing. A God who's bigger than this, but also God who is with us, listening to us. So I encourage you today when you're praying, when we're lifting up our requests to God, hold these truths in your mind in that balanced way, knowing the truth of who God is.